Today we are going to look at adding and subtracting decimals. The nice thing about adding and subtracting decimals is that you don't have to learn a different rule for addition versus subtraction. They share the exact same rule. So once you understand what that rule is, you apply it to both operations. We're going to start with an addition example. Here our example is 9 and 73/100ths plus 3 and 688 thousandths. So the rule here, you can see it at the bottom of the screen, is to add and or subtract decimals, line up your decimals, and fill in the blanks with zeros if needed. So let's go ahead and start with this problem. I'm going to rewrite this as a vertical problem as 9 and I'm going to be lining up my decimals. As you can see, they are right in a line. Right here. Here's where my decimals, they are right on top of each other. From here, this part where it says fill in the blanks with zeros, what that's looking at is, you can tell there's actually an extra digit in the second number. So right here there's a blank, and what we're going to do is we're going to just fill that in with the 0. Now everything has a number, and so we're going to add just like we would if this is whole numbers. So 0 and 8 is 8. 3 and 8 is 11. Let's carry that 1. 1 plus 7 plus 6 is 14. Carry that 1. 1, 9, and 3 is 13. And our last step is that decimal just falls right into place. So our final answer is 13 and 418 thousandths. We're going to continue on. The rule applies just like we learned with addition as for subtraction. So I'm going to take this problem and I'm going to start by rewriting this vertically. So 80 and 2/10 minus 4 and 57/100ths. And just as before, I'm going to start by filling in this blank with a 0. And from here, we're going to just go ahead and subtract like normal. So I start on the right. I cannot take 7 away from 0, so I'm going to have to come over to the 2 and borrow from it. That changes the 2 to a 1, and the 1 I'm borrowing is going to be added and joined with the 0, making it 10. Now I can take 7 from 10 and get 3. I cannot take 5 from 1, so again I'm going to have to borrow. The problem is when I come over to the 0, there's nothing to borrow. So I'm actually going to have to borrow from its neighbor, the 8, changing that to a 7, now making that 0 into a 10. Now that 0, has changed to a 10, and I can now borrow from it, making it a 9, and making this an 11. I can take 5 from 11 and get 6, bring that decimal point down. My 10 had changed to a 9 when I borrowed from it, and I can take 4 from it, leaving me with 5. And then I've got my last number, which is 7, and it's not being subtracted from anything. So my answer here is going to be 75 and 63/100ths. So this is how you subtract and add decimals. Just make sure those decimal points are lined up. Add zeros when you need to, and watch your operations. Make sure you borrow correctly with your subtraction. You can always go back and double check your work. An easy way to double check this would be here using our subtraction problem. If I wanted to add one of the numbers like 4 and 57/100ths, I should end up with what I started with, the 80 and 2/10. So here we can add, carry my 1, carry my 2, drop my decimal point, and it does check out. So that's something you can always go back to look at, is checking your answers, making sure that you have the correct one. Same thing with our subtraction problem, or our addition problem. We can use subtraction to check our answer. We can take either number 9 and 73 hundredths. We can subtract it, and we should end up with that 3 and 688 thousandths. So that is our first one. Good luck.